Mate, what an exciting one today, huh?
Got a good one. Got Steve O'Brien in, founder, managing director of Clear21. They look after iBodyShop, which you definitely would have heard of, Clear21 Assessing platform, and their parts procurement solution in repair connection. We got some big things to talk to Steve today about. We want to know his journey as a person and as an entrepreneur. He's been at the cutting edge of this for a while, so I really want to get in and understand his mindset, some of the decisions that he's made, the founding story of his company and iBodyShop, particularly around how he was able to secure such significant market share with his technology solution. Interested to hear a little bit about his recent partnership as well with Nash Capital to support the international growth.
Lots of news. Lots of news around that. Lots of rumblings around private equity buyout. So it'd be good to clarify and get it straight from the source, that is Steve. But what a guy. He's across so many different things. When we caught up with him last week, it was just an hour, went by in a flash. So I'm looking forward to actually capturing some of it on tape today for the podcast.
Absolutely. And hearing in more detail about some of those enhancements, really leaning into the AI, but as opposed to, we've all seen it, to sort of some technology fluff that some companies are putting out.
How many tech guys have we spoken to, platform solutions, and it's token AI. And what he was talking to us about last week, some of the actual real world use cases that are going to make people's lives easier in these body shops, assessing the parts supply chain, just everything. It's fascinating. It was really fascinating.
For sure. It's impressive to see somebody that obviously is running a business of that size that's still so connected to the customer that he has and is able to develop solutions for them. Super impressive.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Can't wait. Very excited, Brendan.
So today we'd like to welcome the founder of Clear21, products being iBodyShop, Clear21 and Repair Connection, Mr. Steve O'Brien. G'day, Steve. How are you today?
Thanks, Brendan. Nice to see you, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome, mate. We're excited to have you on. Obviously, we know there is some exciting technology pieces coming down the line with your software, but to kick things off, it would be super interesting to hear a little bit more about yourself, sort of your journey and your sort of entrepreneurial path that you've taken in and around commencing through to iBodyShop and Clear21. So we might start off with that. So if you don't mind, mate, do you mind telling us a little bit about your upbringing and your journey?
Sure. I'm a Brisbaneite. I was raised in Stafford in Brisbane. My very first site was Kedron Smash Repairs on Gympie Road in 1990, and I'm delighted to say they're still a customer, although they have moved to Newmarket Road, Windsor, but still a customer, which I'm delighted to hear. But I do go back a little bit further than that in the IT world. Actually started probably about 84 was my first introduction to desktop computers. Once again, it was just by accident. That was the kind of progression those days, from photocopiers and office equipment into the IT world. And back in those days, if you bought an NEC computer or a Sony computer or a Olivetti computer, the only software available was software that was actually written for those particular platforms. So it was difficult to find good software and also very expensive. Then, thank God, DOS came out, Microsoft creating DOS, and the world changed. People could then write software for any computer as long as it was running DOS. So initially into point of sale software that was, virtually for retailers like hobby shops, toy stores, service stations, hardware shops, putting product on shelf, selling it, and then replacing it, doing all your stock turn analysis, etc. So that's where I kicked off into the IT world. And I was fortunate. I had been studying accounting at night at the time. I didn't finish it. I thought I would have been the world's worst accountant, but I got into software instead. So it gave me a really good grounding and understanding of, depreciation schedules, journals, balance sheets, and profit and loss. So it was just an absolute perfect fit to move into the software world. And then in late '89, a friend of mine said, look, there's this bit of software called Quote Plus. It's a DOS product that was available. It was just a very basic estimating system with very not much attached to it. And would I like to, take that on as a product in Queensland? So I jumped at the chance, particularly, running your own ship. I'd always wanted to develop further and further into software, so it was a great opportunity. And at the time, the programmer with the software was a guy by the name of Dylan. He was based in Melbourne. I was based in Brisbane. But that's where the original name Dylan DNS Technology came about, was Dylan and Steve. And we only recently changed that because we had to move from a trust into a company structure, hence Clear21, which actually stems from a company purpose, which I'll go through later. But the early days were just pure estimating system, interfacing to third-party products like accounting systems, time recording, etc. But, the system had no parts control. You tick parts off on estimates when you ordered them, and you didn't even have a job sheet. So it was really, really primitive. So, of course, then we started to add features to it. But I very, very quickly learned that interfacing to third-party products, one, gave me my first ulcer, and everyone in the tech business has had an ulcer. And the second one was you're as only good as the lowest common denominator. And what I mean by that, we might have a really good idea in our estimating system, but unless the third-party products agreed with it, well, they just didn't want to do it. So, and who are we? We're just some little tin pot company. So we found that it was a bit of a dead end. So Dylan was an extremely good programmer. He was phenomenal. One of those rare programmers where you ask for X and you get X plus plus plus. So that's how we kicked off. So we decided, right, we're going to write everything. So that's when the all-in-one system started to evolve, adding parts management and control and job costing and time recording and accounting and scheduling and on I went. The journey really started from that point, that we were going to be a one-stop shop. We were going to be super efficient and super reliable. That was always our go. Dylan unfortunately retired in 2018 due to ill health, and I bought his shares out at that time. But we went from DOS in 1990. Our first Windows platform was in 95, still called Quote Plus, and then we wrote that into, it was version 6 first, then 7, then 8, and each time was a complete rewrite. We started in Dataflex and ended up in, I've forgotten what we ended up in, but we ended up in a different code. But it was certainly a super reliable, super comprehensive product. But then we decided, look, we got to about 330 sites. Quality was really good. Software was expensive, anything from 15 to 25,000 for software plus hardware. So it was a really big decision for a body shop because they couldn't test it in those days. It was just on demonstration, and you could spend a year or two talking to a shop before they changed over. But we decided that the quality of the product and what we had to offer, we really needed to get it out to the wider market. And then we decided to be a SaaS solution, being a fully web-based product. So we started on that revision in 2011. Our first version, we were going to make it cloud data and local software. We gave up on that after a year. It was a bit of a nightmare and a bad start. Then we employed 2 people, Andrew Chisholm, who was all front end and design, and Steve Berry, who was all back end, and that just changed the world. We then came up with the name iBodyShop, and then we just really converted everything was in Quote Plus into iBodyShop, but improved it and made it one system. So we started on that in 2012. And our first version released at the trade show in 2015. So we've just passed our 11th anniversary. And we've now gone from one site in 2015 on iBodyShop to now just shy of 2,000 in Australia and New Zealand. And we've opened up in the UK as well. So is that a good intro?
Not bad. I've got so many questions that have come out of that because I think.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I did forget, of course. In the 90s, I did sleep on the office floor, and I did search the car for 5-cent coins so I could buy a can of baked beans or frozen lasagna for dinner. So, just to get that out on the table. We're a genuine IT company. You're not genuine unless you've slept on the floor, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So to go back a bit, Steve, because it's just interesting to hear about, and you just kind of quickly touched on them as you went through. There were some serious decisions that you would have had to have made going through that.
Yeah.
And particularly, I imagine at that time, because I remember when DOS came out as well, there was a lot of people that were scared, maybe isn't the right word, but kind of a bit of a fear of the unknown around. And you obviously jumped in with both feet. So talk us a little bit about some of those decisions around jumping into the IT world, moving away from accounting, jumping in, buying Quote Plus, like that. There's some high risk decisions and some very sort of entrepreneurial thinking. So talk us through, have you always been like that, or was there certain, what was your decision making process around that?
Yeah, look, I've always had that kind of streak, and I was probably just looking for the product. Before that, I did put my toe in the water with some software for labour hire companies at the time, back in the late 80s as well, but that didn't quite work out. The program wasn't up to Dylan's standard, but I was just always that kind of desire. But it just kind of stemmed from, I think in this business, you've got to have a massive degree of empathy. You've really got to sit down and watch what people do on a daily basis, because what I found was people who run body shops have got PhDs in streetwise how to run a business. I was just stunned when I went from, a simple toy shop or a hardware store where you put a bit of glue on the shelf and you sell it this week and you put a few more bottles on the shelf next week, compared to body shop where you've got a vehicle that, so many different vehicle types, different accident types, where you've got enormous responsibility to return that vehicle to pre-accident conditions so that it's safe to drive. You've got the customer who's upset with their second most expensive component, asset in their life being damaged. They could be off work. It could be the kids can't get to school. All those different things come into play. You've then got your insurance company as your second customer or first customer, whichever you're talking to, is first or second customer, they're both customers. Then you have to take a beat up product in one end and become a light manufacturer, where you've got to apply labour, overheads, material, all at the perfect time to get that product finished at the other end, on schedule, to standard, and delivered to the customer. And you've got not one, but you could have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of these cars on the go at one time. So it's an extraordinary complex business. I mean, really, these guys who run them well. I just take my hat off to them, full of admiration. And people like us in the IT world just need to observe what they do and how they run the business. And they're always so inventive in making up ways, particularly when the software was really basic, of how to run the business without software support. Extraordinary. And so all we've done is listen, learn, applied. And that's the way we've run our business. So, and also I think that it's always that thing in the back of your head about wanting to, be the best at what you do and try and deliver quality. Our name, Clear21, actually comes from our company purpose, which is we're customer focused. We don't put stuff in the software because we think it's a good idea. We put the stuff in our items in the software because the customers need it, they can benefit, they can advance their business. Long term, we never, ever, ever want a customer looking over their shoulder and thinking, hey, that guy's got better software than me. what I need to change. No. We will always be the innovators and cutting edge. That's absolutely ingrained into us. Efficiency, unless we deliver efficiency, we're just kidding ourselves. We just have to constantly improve that productivity and efficiency that businesses can keep expanding, earning the dollar of profit they want. Because I do like to say, like Chrissy Amflett's song, it's a fine line between pleasure and pain, but it's a fine line between profit and loss. And you really have to keep on to the productivity and efficiency to actually keep that profit coming, because it's an ever-changing world. Affordability, we have 4 different levels. We publish on our website. Everybody knows you get the same deal. It's great. We just can move up and down levels. We don't do contracts. If your business is going well, and you can keep growing with us. If your business goes backwards for a little while, heaven forbid, you can downgrade if you want, and you can come back up later on when the market improves. And of course, reliability. Now, I think we're doing over 1.7 million estimates per year. Something like over 65% of claims in Australia go through our system. We just have to be reliable. There's just nowhere in the world that we could have the system down like some other products might be that we won't name. And we just can't afford that. Our customers can't afford it. The insurers can't afford it. The owners of the vehicles can't afford it. So we take that extremely seriously. And this is why we take time in releasing new features. And of course, 21st century. So yeah, like you said, there were decisions through the whole process, but that was the core of it. And it's the admiration of the people in this industry and the empathy with them. And then looking how a lot of them work extraordinary hours, 6 and 7 days a week at night, sometimes make good profits, some don't make the profits they deserve. And our job is to really help them get the profits and the rewards they deserve during their business life.
Yeah, that's great. Just general advice, really, about putting that customer first. Because I know Matt and I were listening to a podcast recently that was talking about some of the points that you mentioned around vehicle repairs aren't just managing the vehicle repair. It's in many ways a logistics business. There's so many bits and pieces moving on, and it would be developing a piece of software like iBodyShop could quite easily be a miss if you weren't watching, listening, and understanding the broader piece around what's going on in the shop, because it just wouldn't meet their needs.
Exactly. Yeah, correct. You're spot on. You've really got to have that empathy and observation of what people do on a daily basis, and try and find a nice IT solution to help it.
And with that market share, Steve, how's your sleep going? How do you sleep comfortably knowing you've got that many jobs running through at any point in time, that level of market share? You're getting your REM cycles in?
Yeah, pretty well. Like I do have the odd sleepless night, but not too much. It's just so rewarding being able to have the confidence of the market in us. It is that is very rewarding. That in itself is to say that's a wonderful feeling when the market says, "Hey guys, you're doing the right thing by us. We're sticking by you." That is a wonderful feeling, and we never want to let that go.
Right. Before we jump into some of the exciting stuff on the horizon, Matt, was there any questions that you had around?
Oh, I think, one for me, Steve, it was fascinating walking around the office the other day, seeing, the visibility and the team and the way you guys are focused on that uptime, as you said, that's such a big deal in businesses like these collision repair shops where you have to be online all the time. Can you talk to us about, the size of the team and sort of the process or the diligence that you have around making sure that your platform and all the other platforms that plug into iBodyShop are always up and running, and what you're doing for customers around that? Because I think that's really important.
Sure. But what we have about 78 staff here in Toto, plus the people in the UK. They're broken up into teams, and one of them, of course, is the platform team. And I'll just move on to the other products in a second, and why we develop those apart from iBodyShop. And what we look at platform, their job is to make sure the system is constantly running and constantly running quickly. And my real go, I like to go to any site, and if I'm there visiting them, just go to all estimates and type in silver total, just SIL space TOY, and it comes up like that. That to me is a measure of success. We don't like those spinning circles, and we like ways you can find cars nice and quickly. So in short, that's what the platform team does, is gives that speed, reliability, and also the backup. So a few things we've done there is we have what we call 3 server farms. There's 2 in Sydney in separate locations and 1 in Melbourne, and each is a replica of the other. So when someone, say for example, records a transaction in iBodyShop, it instantly records in the 3 locations. And the idea of that is if one location would accidentally go down through whatever power or Telstra, whatever, the other two locations will take over automatically. So there's no downtime. So we have big boards here. You probably saw all those televisions that's just monitoring everything that's going on the network, because we have all the SMSs, the emails, the Infield Cups, PNet, ORM, ARNI, Estimage, Outernet. We have all these third-party integrations and that are going on in the system: Xero, MyOb, NetSuite, MoneyWorks. So we're just monitoring the entire network, looking to see if one of those third-party products has an issue. So, for example, say the SMS are starting to, times are getting a bit long in actually delivering the message, or we're in there diving away. What's going on? Is it their end, our end, customer end? What is it? So we can identify things that are going wrong before they go wrong, and either alert the third party to it so that they can rectify the situation, or we can look at have a look at our servers or what's going on. So we constantly monitor there. We also what we call horizontally and vertically load balance. So when everyone clocks on in the morning, we go horizontal. So we put more servers onto it to make sure we maintain the speed. And then if somebody wants to run a massive report, a big MSO, we go vertical for, we put more CPUs onto it automatically. We don't have to think about it, it just does it. So the system, we host at Amazon or AWS. So we certainly use all of the power of that massive organization to deliver the end product. And then, of course, we added SOC 2 Type 3 compliance. People have often, they heard of ISO. Well, SOC compliance is like ISO, but for our world, where we have to have all the security, all of the disaster recovery programs in place, all the way we vet people here. Everyone's got to have a police check, and everyone's got to go through all that kind of diligence before we employ them. And we do what we call annual penetration tests, where we pay some people to come in and try and hack into us and see if there are any holes. So we do that every November. That costs about $80,000 a year. So we make sure that we pass those tests. Now that platform also looks after we have 3 products actually. iBodyShop, of course, my name for body shops. We have a program called Repair Connection, which we actually created in about 2007, 2008. And its job is to, instead of back in those days, people used to send faxes out to about 4 or 5 different suppliers and put them on the desk and put all the details together. And that was one of those empathy observations. I came back to the office while I sat there for an hour watching a guy to do it at Mount Waverley Body Repairs and say, hey, mate, we've got to fix this. This is horrendous. So our first product was sourced it, and that was just via the web, send it out to 4 or 5 different suppliers. You get your grid, you pick your best ETA, your most profitable, or your all OEM, or mix and match. And so we created that in about 2008. That morphed into Repair Connection. So the platform team looks after that product as well. We have hundreds of suppliers and body shops using that. It's a lot faster and simpler because it's all integrated with iBodyShop. So it's, like 2 clicks instead of 20 clicks to make it work. And then, of course, during at the beginning of just before COVID in 2019, I was looking at our business and looking at, okay, look, we've really got, we're a one-trick pony. Our entire business is focused just on the Australian and New Zealand smash and supplier industry. If someone huge came in from overseas as a competitor and who knows what, it's not good for business risk. So I'd been advised to go to the UK, so I was just about to hop on a plane and go to the UK and observe how they work. But then, of course, COVID hit. So back in the mid-90s, we did write an assessing system for RACV on tablets here, integrating to SOP. But when they merged with NRMA, that program was shelved, and then ORM came out. But we'd always had people saying, look, guys, we really need an assessing system as well, particularly from contract assessors, because a lot of them use iBodyShop. So they'd say to us, look, can you make us efficient like you've made BodyShop? Because there was nothing for us to go into a shop with maybe 6 people in admin, and we would cut that down to 4. Now, I'm sorry for the 2 that maybe lost or got redeployed, but it often saved the business, and the owner of the business was starting to reap the rewards they so justly deserved. It was just inefficiency that was creating those 6 jobs. They weren't really necessary. So it said, hey, can you make us efficient? So we did. So we decided to start on that program. Now, our Clear21 Assessing is used by a number of Aussie contract assessors and insurers, but also pretty heavily used in New Zealand as well. So we're getting great reviews about that. And why we did that is we look at the ecosystem of the industry, which involves the owner of the vehicle, the insurer, the body shop, the parts supplier, and the OEM. Now, there's a lot of inefficiency and disconnect between all of those organisations. And if one is inefficient, it impacts on the others, their bottom line profit. So our view is we really have to be a supplier to the industry so we can create efficiencies where I'm not saying we're perfect. There are other really good players out there as well. But if we can create some efficiencies and overcome some hurdles of the way things currently operate, we do a great job for our body shops. We do a great job for the insurers. We do a great job for the parts suppliers and the OEMs, and of course, the owner of the vehicle is the one who benefits the most. So our mission is that ecosystem and create efficiency wherever we can, because it just flows everywhere.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because you do sit right in the middle there between insurers, parts suppliers, body shops. You would argue all with competing interests and priorities. So can you talk us through kind of how you weigh up your solution design to make sure that you're essentially designing a product that suits all 3 as best as possible, if it's possible?
Well, look, they're all 3 separate products. So like you pointed out, they have 3 separate needs. So it's quite easy, actually. It's because they have 3 separate needs. We just look at that same thing. We apply to the body shop industry, the empathy of watching how they do things. Now, I watched this particular assessing program, and what they did was, if it was a 2-page assessment, 2-page estimate, you had to get Snippy out and cut the second page and put it on your second screen so you could see the context of the quote. Now that ain't good. And another one, you might have, say, 40 different images, emails, and documents, but it just stored them all in one area. Now, if you wanted to find a particular image or an email to go back on and have a look at something, you had to open every single one of them till you found it. Now, that's not good. So that's a very simple thing to address. There's nothing, it doesn't cross over anywhere. So it's exactly that same principle of what are your problems, how can we actually cure them? So they're really like 3 separate towers that happen to interface, and when the tower gets efficient, well, the other one benefits.
Yeah,
Makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And in terms of that process of getting the feedback, my assumption is that you personally are still out and about talking, listening. I do hear your name a lot around the industry, but what are those different ways of which those customers can provide feedback back to you about the platforms and potential enhancement opportunities?
Sure, there's a number of ways. We have what we call a product owner for each product, and their job is to be the interface between the customer and the development side, right? So the product owner is the one doing what, when I was mostly doing all the selling, and up until just a couple of years ago, by the way, I would be out listening and learning and coming back with the ideas, right? We got a little bit too big for that. So now we have product owners for each area. We even have an assistant product owner in one area because it's big. And then we have what we call business analysts. So the product owner goes to the customers, right, and observes what's going on, what do you need? They come up with what they call a design and a story. The story is what are we trying to achieve? Then they give that to what they call the business analyst, who then interprets that so the programmer can understand what we're trying to achieve. Then they work with the programmer to get the result out, comes back to the business owner and they say, yeah, that's pretty close, but just do these couple of things, or yeah, that's perfect, or back to the drawing board. So we do go back to the drawing board sometimes. If we miss the mark, we don't release rubbish. So in that way, we're able to keep abreast of all that's going on out of the market and just not rely on myself and other salespeople. But I still love it. I still love getting out there and talking to people. I can't resist.
Yeah, people are, like you said, people are usually quite forward in coming forward with what's not working. Look, it's pretty easy to get the feedback, I find, just in general.
Yeah, and look, I've got to say, and that's the wonderful part about this business. We don't get much of that. And when you look at the recent trade show where people are coming onto the stand, coming on with smiles, show me what's new, guys. They're just interested in the product and what can you do for us now and what's next. It's not coming on, your bloody system doesn't do this. We just don't seem to get that because we really, really try hard to keep abreast of the customer. And the next thing, of course, is don't forget the little question mark up on the top right-hand corner of every one of our products. We look for ideas, and gee, they come up with some good ideas.
Yeah,
we mine the ideas all the time.
For sure. So, should we talk a little bit more about the UK piece, Steve,
Sure.
that you mentioned earlier? Obviously planned pre-COVID, which interrupted those plans, but I know that the team have been over there recently.
Yeah, look, it's been really, it's taken us 2 years so far to do a few things. One is all the local, what we call localizations. When you go to body shops and look at what they do in the UK, what they do here, what they do in America, it's all pretty much the same. But there are just different regulations and rules because they have a different thing over there. They have, of course, VAT, but they have one rule. For example, if you're a business driver of a vehicle, you've got to pay the VAT and the excess when you pick up the car. Whereas here, you just pay the GST and the insurer looks after it. So different things like that. They have a massive thing on courtesy cars where, we have third-party recovery here, but it's just a whole new level over there. It's just industrial scale third-party recovery, and they have massive claims companies that manage them and also hire and rental firms of cars and body shops own their own cars. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One is, yes, you do have that third-party recovery will put you in a vehicle. But when my very first trip there, I just went through, I got Google Maps up and thought I'll look at Birmingham and Manchester and Leeds and Devon and a few towns around. These are, they say it's a bit of a drive, but to me it's only 4 hours. It's just down the road. So I just hopped around for a week and did a couple of 1,000 miles talking to body shops. Now, I had 20 on my list. Well, I could only see 11 of them. The other 9, I two of the block trying to find a parking spot. Just don't in the world. And you can't, of course, go and park on the forecourt. That's rude. And there could only be one space anyway. So I just couldn't go there. So I had to drive on. So I can understand why they have what they call drivers, where they'll get a loan car, take it to the owner's house, swap the vehicle and bring it back and do the reverse when the vehicle's completed. So we had to go and create a whole new system to do that. So it's taken us a couple of years to get there, but we've also had a new manager come on, Expires, who's ex-10 years fixed auto, and before that 10 years nationwide. Phenomenal guy, well respected, knows the industry like the back of his hand, and everyone knows him. And he's really boosted things on dramatically. And he's only been with us for 2 months, but we've now gone from like 8 sites to 28 sites. plus some really big contracts just about to fall as well. So he's done a phenomenal job. So once again, over there, it's all desktop product. There's one what do you call it, cloud product, but it's just a low end, not very good. Everything else is still like back in the 90s. It's just, I was shocked to see how old the software was. And the problem is everything's owned by vested interests. You've got a claims management company owning software. You've got a paint company owning software. You've got a loan car company owning software. You've got another claims company owning a software product. So they're interested in controlling repairers, not looking at how can we improve repairers. It's just not their focus. So us coming in as an independent, it's, wow, thank God someone's here at last. Someone who's caring for us. So yeah, we're really getting some great traction. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. I was going to ask what you found to be the biggest variance between the UK market and the Australian market, but it sounds like it was just that level of interest by some of the incumbent providers, but also the legacy nature of those pieces.
The legacy software, but also look, one thing we have to learn, they're more regulated there. Time recording is absolutely compulsory. You've got to have a particular technician sign off on before to move to the other level. It's a whole new level of control. And I think it's a good thing because I'm not saying the quality is any better than here, but certainly the making sure every stage of repair is done to a standard is excellent. And all the repair methods have got to be attached, all the images have got to be attached. It's a lot more emphasis on time recording. It's just compulsory. We hear it's maybe 20 or 30% of shops do it, but I'd really love to kind of see that kind of diligence come in here.
Yeah, for sure. We know if I put my insurance hat back on, my insurance analyst hat, timeframes is huge. From a customer experience perspective, it is absolutely massive. And it's always been quite challenging, particularly from the insurer side, to be able to get that level of oversight. It's quite often just accepted that it'll be an inflated number, because to pick up the actual date, even when the vehicle has been collected, can be really challenging. So, it's interesting to hear they've obviously picked up on that in the UK and have built that into their regulations to create that huge amount of visibility. The auditing piece is interesting as well that you talk to, because quality is another one. It doesn't matter how good your communication is, how quickly you turn that car around. The inconvenience of having to come down, pick up the car, you realise something's not right, leave it there, or worse, take it away, 2 days later, see something, have to bring it back, have to arrange for someone to look after the kids, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but it is such a difficult industry. It is easy for something to slip through. But with good regulation and time recording and making sure you have to sign off, you look at the repair methods, etc., does certainly help.
Definitely.
About a year ago, some big news you and the team announced with the investment of some private equity in the company. Do you want to talk us through how that came about and 12 months down the track, what that's sort of done for the organisation, assuming it's supporting some of the UK rollout, but obviously there's quite a bit on the table for you guys.
Oh, look, it was a big decision for us, a long-term decision, but it got to the point where we've funded everything out of profit. We just keep every dollar we make, we just plow it back into the business, keep improving it. I prefer to employ another programmer than do anything else type of stuff. So it was always just plowing back in. But it got to a point where we were holding ourselves back, because with the advent of AI coming, with all the different products with the UK and assessing and repair connection on iBodyShop and New Zealand and potential America, we were just kind of holding ourselves back by not having a few more dollars in the bank. So I got to the point where, we need to do it. It took probably a good 18 months to 2 years, because two things were compulsory. One was there had to be minority. We're not interested in anyone coming in and ruining the business. We weren't, as I often said to them, I said, look, we're obviously doing something right here. We've got a great market share, so we're not broken. So don't try and come in and fix us. We just need some capital to expand a little bit quicker. So that was always the mantra, and they had to be interested in the product and the business, because some people, all they care about is the money. There had to be business out the same as us. We're so focused on customer, they had to be the same way. And there's quite a few people I did get a bit upset with, I got to tell you. They, the really, really good ones could resist for about 10 minutes. When can we put your price up? I said, mate,
it's not what we're about.
It's not what we're about.
Yeah.
We want to keep innovating and creating and look at our dollar of income that way. But ripping people off, we're just not interested. Just go away. So I did tell a few people to go away, particularly if they misspelt things, and a lot of them just cut and pasted thing off websites, and one guy spelt tire, T-I-R-E. So I did tell him in uncertain terms, we don't sell tires, and particularly spelt that way. Thanks for coming. See you later. So I'd virtually given up, and then what happened, a company called Nash Capital invested in National Windscreens, and they're phenomenal guys. They've also got interest in a cement company as well. So Sean, what's their problems every day? And this resonated with me so much. What's their problems every day? Okay, I'm going to go and get myself a truck license, and I'm going to go and deliver cement and see what they go through. So he did. So the next thing, he was with National Windscreen and said, well, what do they go through in a database? Right, I'm going to go and hop in a van and go and fit windscreens for a week. So he did. And he came across a number of body shops, of course, and they were running iBodyShop. And they said, well, what software can't you live without? And they said, well, iBodyShop. So after the third site, he gave me a phone call.
Okay.
And they came in, and it was just such a breath of fresh air. They came and sat down and said, right, tell us all about your product. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Why is it good? What are your business plans? Show us the product. So we just spent hours going through the product. And this went on for a couple of meetings. And then we got to the other bits. They never asked, can we put your prices up, which was a wonderful thing. They're just more interested in where can we take this business and what can we do with it. So we got on really, really well. Then the other, a lot of private equity guys, get leads. And then a final bit was, well, how do you get your business? Oh, well, what we do is, we'll go to, we might go to South Melbourne, for example. Jonathan was telling me. We'll go to look at the first business. So we'll get it on the phone, look up ASICS, who owns it, look up their website. What do they do? Oh, they might need investors. So they go and do a cold call. Knock on the door. Hey, and go to the next business. And that just, mate, you guys are wonderful. Because I've done that all my life. So that kind of resonated. So they're 30% equity. They did not want majority because they recognise, once again, we have a formula. We just want to help you advance it. So they came on board, and they're just fantastic guys.
Fantastic. What a story.
Yeah, so I'd almost given up, but thank God Sean loves getting out and being practical and fitting windscreens.
Fantastic.
I was going to say, was that first meeting in a spray booth, or was
it?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Steve, did you want to talk a little bit about some of those enhancements as well that you've been working on over the last couple of years that are coming soon, I believe?
Yeah, look. Of course, AI is the big buzz in not in just the industry, in the world, right? Everyone's talking about it and how to do it and stuff like that. But actually, finding a real world practical use for it is the harder bit that they're actually going to get value from for our customers. So that's taken a while. Our first one, of course, was estimating. That was the easy one to kind of look at. So we actually started on that in 2024. September 24, we started on investigating how we could do AI estimating. So that is, you take images of the vehicle and then the system writes the quote for you. So look, it was a bit of quite a slog at first, but then October last year, the world suddenly changed. A couple of months before that, we'd take images and it could take 20 minutes to process the photos. Suddenly it took 20 seconds. It was just someone just fired a gun and off thought went, and Nvidia, I think, is the main reason for that, and Anthropic and all these companies, just the way what they started to release. So suddenly the world just changed. The speed was there, the accuracy was there. So we've been fine tuning that since the well, I said for 2 years, but we've now got a point. We've got a number of pilot sites with it, and we're going to fully release the estimating next month. We'll do a soft launch to start with some parties who are interested who came to the trade show and expressed interest, and then we'll start to do a better rollout. Now, once again, the reason for this is when you look at business, estimators, like this industry is aging. Unfortunately, of course, not like us, we're all staying the same age, but the industry is aging, and it's getting harder and harder to find estimators and people for the shop floor, etc., and also, getting more expensive. So when you find a shop needs that 1.2 or 1.3 estimator, it's a really tricky situation where, often the person will then start to work crazy hours, or they'll start to rush through the jobs. And of course, when you rush through things, your quality is at risk of dropping off. You might not be getting a $3,000 quote. Now it's the $2,200 quote, etc. And of course, has issues down the line. So that's what we kind of looked at is the workload, the efficiency, the cost, and you often find that estimate writer is the person who's looking after the customer, who's often ordering parts, often looking after the shop floor, and on it goes. It's such a multitask operation. So if we can take out, and when you look at these days, most estimates are written from images, because if the vehicle's got ADAS on it, well, you're not going to take the front bar off. It's too risky, or the rear bar. You might suspect the brackets are broken, but you take it off, you can't get it back on, and the car's going to stay there, and then you're very unpopular with everyone. So it's all visual damage from images, which is right up our alley. So what we're looking at is our goal has been to get like the 80 or 90% of what a normal estimate writer could see on images. So then we also came up with the idea that while you're at the shop floor, you're always remembering, okay, look, that bar, I might need to put the bar reinforcement on report, and I might have to do this and do that, and I'll make sure I do when I go back to the desk. So what we thought of then was you could do a few things there. You could have meta glasses, which you can take photos with you, which is very nice Ray-Bans on. They have a microphone in them, and you can take images. You can just also use your normal old iPhone with your headsets as well. So as you walk around the vehicle, you can just press a little button and take the photo, and then press record and say, place front bar reinforcement on report. So the system will just insert the line for you because you're taking the image of the front bar. So in this way, you don't have to go back to your desk and finish it. So then we're going to really get up pretty close to done. So what the process is, you go back to your desk, you do a quick review, you use Repair Connection to go and get your part numbers and prices and your accuracy and your best deal, and of course you lodge the quote. So we're going to take out a huge amount of manual work for the body shops in that respect. Okay. So then, funny enough, we started to look more and more at this AI thing and thought, well, what are the other things that really impact on repairers? Well, when you look at that same estimate writer I was talking about, that person or the supervisor or the owner of the business, a number of times during the day, they'll do a bit of a walk around the shop floor. And on that shop floor, they might notice that, a job's finished. I better tell the owner. It's going to be late. I better tell the owner. Someone's broken some brackets. I better order them. And on it goes as they walk through, right? And sometimes it's write it on your hand. Sometimes it's use your memory. Sometimes it's hope for the best, right? So what we decided to create a product called Talk. So the same thing, you can use noise cancelling headsets because it does get a bit noisy out on that shop floor. Your meta glasses have got great noise cancelling as well. You can, as you walk around, you can just same thing, press the talk button and say, estimate 52, send a text message to the owner, your vehicle's on schedule. The system will do it for you. Estimate 59, put a note in, internal notes, blah, 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 blah. Estimate 92, order front bar brackets from the OEM supplier on record. So once again, see what often happens is people will do that on their phone from the shop floor, the parts arrive and nobody has a clue what job it belongs to. So in this way, it's got a proper purchase order, it's got the job, it's gone out there and ordered the parts. So phenomenal, just once again, because, you know, we all hate typing. And I just kind of harping back, you asked me, how did I overcome all those DOS issues with people first using systems, right? So what I used to do is I used to keep about 8 or 9 old keyboards in my boot. When the guys, those computer things. So listen, hey, just take this keyboard home with you tonight, and while you're watching the news, just go A, B, C, D, E. Just go through the alphabet on the keyboard, and I'll come back in a couple of days. I'd say, here you go, and it worked. Just A, B, C, D on your lap during in fact, I still type that like that because that's how I learned, but just harping back to things you've got to do like that. So Talk is a phenomenal product. The next one is, of course, Receptionist. So, you know, and it's funny enough, you know, some shops just get inundated with phone calls all day, others hardly. But sometimes when you look at the shop that's got, you know, the smaller one where the guy or the lady has got to do everything, right? I often look at smaller shops have so many multitasks and are busier than someone with a bigger shop who's got a job for every person type of thing, where you've got to do all the, you know, estimate writing, and sometimes you're working on the shop floor as well and ordering parts and looking after customers. It's huge, right? So Receptionist will, of course, answer the phone for you and book your cars, and it will go right through even to the umpteenth level, where once the estimate gets authorized, it will call the owner and negotiate with them when to bring the vehicle in based on labour availability, part availability, and even loan car availability if you need one. Book it in, send them an SMS to tell them all the booking dates. The day, say for example, you've got to need a 3-week lead time on the parts. The day before, the system will call the customer and say, yeah, we're going to order your parts tomorrow. You're still okay with this day? Yep, all good for that. Order the parts the day before the car's due in, text the owner. So the system will do all these things for you instead of a person having to. So once again, and the whole idea is what computers can't do is what people do the best, and that is talk to people. That is what I mean by that. As booking a booking date, I consider that to it, but explaining why you're the best body shop in the area, bring your car here, explaining why we're going to, you know, repair it to specifications. The computer can't do that. Negotiating with your suppliers, working out the best elasticity, all those things that people can do that machines can't, and leave that what I classify as the dumb work to us. Put a booking date in, let us do that, and we'll do and release the people to do the really things that will advance the business. Now, sorry to go on. There's 2 more, and then that's it for the next. The next one is a thing called Ask. Now, what Ask is about is, you know, people say, well, look, you know, what's going wrong today? So you can just ask the system, tell me what's going wrong today. So it'll tell you, hey, this is what, and how can I fix it? So they'll even give you some advice as well, how to fix it. Tell me over the last 12 months, with this particular insurance company, what's my ratio between new, used, parallel, blah, blah, blah. Because I've got my guy coming in tomorrow to go through my annual review, and I need that information. So I'll just spit the report out for you. So you can then go and create your standard dashboards that you want to look at, but you can just ask the system anything you want, whatever your imagination has ever wondered about your business, and the whole idea is to improve your business. Then the final one is what we call accounts. We have a thing at the moment called auto parts receipting with Repair Connection, where we can read a parts invoice in say a 30-line parts invoice and receipt it in 10 seconds. So massive labour saving. So, but we're expanding that into full accounts where it will reconcile bank statements, reconcile supplier statements. You can get like a 30-page statement from some of your parts suppliers. So we'll reconcile and tell you what's missing. But the other big one is all of your expense invoices and all of your consumable invoices. Because some shops might get an invoice from their supplier that has got liquid paint, sandpaper, filler, and a jack on it, right? So all those items belong to different account codes, different general ledger codes. Now, what quite often happens is that it all ends up going against liquid paint because it's just the one invoice. So what this system will do is read every single line, assign it to the correct account code. Therefore, you're going to get much better analytics out of your system and your ask as well. You're really going to see what's going on. Your power, your power bills, your gas bills, your wastage, rental, everything. We just scan them, bang, we'll just receipt the whole thing for you. So yeah, so they're the products we've identified that can make a massive difference to release people to do what people do best, and that's interact with people in a live situation.
Real world AI use cases, Steve.
100%.
Not what we're always hearing, is it?
Yeah, and look, and they'll all be July, August, September is when we start rolling all those products out. So we'll be putting it in now what's new, and we're putting in emails and processes and encouraging people to have a look at it. It's just phenomenal change of what we're going to achieve in this new AI world, real world applications.
Yeah, that is a huge amount of change. And again, like what Matt said, it's it goes back to the strategy that you talked about around listening and understanding what's actually happening in the shop. I know we've all seen technology rolled out in the past, and you go, that's the greatest solution to a problem nobody has. But this is quite clearly understanding what's happening on the shop floor, what's happening all the way from an administrative perspective, all the way through to receipting, and seeing where AI can best fit, which is really cool. And the fact that's coming out over the next couple of months as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been a long road to work on it all, but we're really delighted with the end results. And so then of course, someone asked me, well, what's your 24-month strategy with AI? I said, sorry, mate, I haven't got a clue, because AI is changing so rapidly that all we're going to do is the feedback from the customers, and we will get enormous feedback of where to add things and improve things and stuff like that. We're just going to be focused on that.
Yeah, the pace is extraordinary, isn't it? Overnight, you wake up and Anthropic's released a new model, or they've shut off the model based on new lists.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and look, we've started to drop Claude code in here, so we can start to, our developers in here can start to use those tools to really get things out quicker and more reliably. So it's wonderful.
It's great.
Two more quick questions for you.
Yeah.
One, obviously, you've achieved a lot across your time in the industry, which is remarkable, and obviously continuing to push with all this AI and all the pieces that you just talked about. What would you say is the single best habit or piece of advice that's contributed to that?
As I said before, that empathy. Just look at what people do and really just understand your customer, and never be arrogant about it. I hate arrogance. I just don't like arrogant people. I find they don't listen. You just got to listen and learn, and that's my number one policy in this organization is, everyone has something to contribute. You just must listen. Even if you've heard it all before, there'll be a little tweak to it or a twist to it. Listen, understand, give people the time of day, and you'll find that you will, just stay humble.
Yeah, awesome. Excellent. Well, that's everything that I had to talk to. Matt, was there any further questions or?
Fascinating insights.
Thanks,
Steve.
Guys.
Really
Look, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. It's really great to sit down and just talk, get the message out there, and listen.
Oh, likewise. And again, thank you so much for coming on, Steve. That was, super insightful, really interesting. I think people listening to this will take a lot out of it. And again, congratulations on all your success over the years, and continued success into the future as well.
Thanks, mate. Looking forward to the future. See you guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
So how good was that?
Oh, mate, that hour flew as we thought it would. Like when we met up with him last week, an hour flew, and then again, just more deeper insights. Fascinating story, fascinating guy.
Oh, super fascinating, super impressive as well. Like, he is on it. He knows what the industry wants, what they're asking for. He's got the processes in place to feed that back in, and he's delivering, importantly.
Absolutely, and the expansion. Like, it was 65% of all quotes written on his platform in Australia, the expansion into the UK taking off the way it's taken off, the private equity investment that's really helped catapult and drive the business forward in this AI era. Fascinating. Really, really interesting.
Oh, for sure. And there's obviously been huge buzz about it. Like we personally saw it at the Collision Repair Expo the other month.
Couldn't get near him. Couldn't get near the stand, could you?
It was popular.
10 deep. I had to wait.
It was very popular, but super valuable. Very much enjoyed that chat.